Wintertime in a van. Oh, this is how I keep from freezing to death when it's cold outside. I hope you guys get something out of this, and don't let the sunshine fool you. It is absolutely freezing right now, and it was even worse earlier. Whew-wee, it is so cold today. Oh my gosh, I guess we finally get a little bit of winter. Man, it got down into like the 20s and the 30s the last couple nights. Oh my gosh, and it's still like the sun's out and everything, and it's like 7, almost 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's still like 30 degrees outside. It's so cold. Ugh. I'm surprised I don't have frost on my windshield. I think it's because I always park my van towards the east, so when the sun comes up, it'll defrost everything. But holy moly, ugh, I'm glad I don't have to work today because I work a lot outside. Okay, the reason why I'm talking at you guys is because it's been so cold. This is a good time to show you kind of sort of what I do in the morning to survive it. At night it's fine. I've got like a nice warm bed that I'm in, and some extra sleeping bags and lots of, you know, down and wool things to sleep under, so I don't have to worry about that too much. But what do I do when I get out of bed? And oh my gosh, one of the reasons why I'm thinking about upgrading my rig is because I don't care how much you insulate a metal floor, and I've done this a couple of times, it's still cold, especially when it's this cold outside. My feet freeze off after about 5 seconds of sitting, stepping on the floor. So I have to wear slippers all the time. I put rugs down. I've got, like I said, I've got the floor insulated and covered, and it's still freezing. So let me show you a little bit of what I do to try to warm the van up in the morning and, keep it a little bit warmer at night. Okay, as you guys can see, this is like a reflective insulative material that they use to make pot holders. I bought a whole bunch of it, and I use it as the outer layer on the outside of my curtains. I've got several layers of curtains, and they're blackout curtains, so they're pretty insulative and thick. This, believe it or not, is a shower curtain because it's water resistant and repellent, and it will, even though it's fabric, and it'll still breathe. And because it's kind of a polyester, it's insulative as well. And believe it or not, my sheer curtain that I have here that I use for a screen is very insulative. I found that out the hard way last summer, so I've been leaving it up as part of insulation. And then I have these reflective window things that go over the glass. Now, yeah, I don't really like them. It's the first time I've attempted to make anything like this, and it didn't work out very well. However, they do work somewhat to keep the light and, the cold out. And then, of course, on the front you have your big giant hole here, so everybody's got layers and layers of curtains, and I did a similar thing. This, however, is supposed to be put on the outside of your vehicle. There's like little magnets, and you put it over your windshield in case of snow. And there's also a reflective thing on it for in the summertime. It'll create a little more shade. I don't use it for that. I use the magnet part, and I clip it up all along the rib here, the support area, so that it basically has something to hang on to. And that's part of the layering for the front, because there's just so much heat and stuff that escapes, or coolness, or whatever whatever the case may be. So, and then of course these lay down, and then that creates a barrier. And then on top of that, my fuzzy bedspread everybody has seen here. This is an actual real sheepskin rug or whatever, and I use it to make the bed look pretty and nice in the daytime. Well, at night I also attach it over here on this thing to help block the cold. Now in the morning time, this van is still cold no matter what I do. Oh yeah, and I do kind of a similar thing on the back windows, and the back doors to keep it, warmer. And in the morning time, the van's still cold, so I have my little butane stove, and I turn it on, and that warms up the place a little bit. And then of course I have my little candle heater that I created. As you can see, the candles are burnt out right now. I decided not to use it this morning. And it's got several layers inside that help to collect the heat as the candles are burning, and I put enough holes in it to where the candles can still breathe and not go out, and it works okay. It's not perfect. It can use some improvement. Maybe someday I'll be able to do that. And I also light other candles, and I have this rock, which works great. It retains a lot of heat, and I put a candle inside of that. And yes, of course, it's on the floor because the heat rises. And the same thing with this little fish. It's an actual cast iron lantern, but because he's cast iron, he collects and radiates heat. In this thing, he works really good, especially the fin area. I've noticed that even after the candle's been out for a while, he's still got a lot of heat in there, and he's radiating. So this is a little trick that I do to stay warm in the van, and I'll make sure that in the morning time I'm not freezing my butt off. Okay, and then another thing that I do is my clothing. I wear this hat quite often, and even sometimes, like when it's really cold last night, I wore it to bed. And even though I have dreads, the heat still escapes from my head just like everybody else. They don't insulate the top of your head as much, so on cold nights you can get very cold. And then this hat is really cool because it's double knitted, so it's really thick. So it's just a good thing to have. And then of course, as you can see, I have this really thick Columbia fleece shirt on. I also wore this to bed last night. I put it back on as soon as I got up because it still had body heat in there. That's an old hiker and backpacker trick. You don't waste body heat. So if you have something that's already warm, as soon as you can, put it back on. So that's why backpackers just take lots of outer layers with them, and sometimes they wear them all day and all night. And you're dirty, but at least you're not going to freeze to death and die. With me, I take them off later. I don't have to worry about it if it warms up. And then of course I have my old coat that I've had for a very long time, and I use it for a regular coat, but well, at least I have in the past, and everything else. But now, because I've got some good newer coats, they're pretty bulky though, but this one is warm and light at the same time, and if it gets really wet, it dries really fast, like within 5 minutes, believe it or not, and it doesn't let you get cold. So if something happens and you get wet, this is the type of gear that you want, is something that will still retain your body heat even when it's soaking wet. This coat is old, it's ugly. I stole it from my ex-husband fair and square. He hated it, didn't want it. I absolutely fell in love with it. It's totally ginormous. I can wear like tons of clothes underneath it. But the coolest part of all, which is what I use it almost exclusively for now, whether I'm camping or not, if I get too cold, I sleep in it. That's right, I sleep in a coat, and it helps. And because this thing is so light and so soft, it's not uncomfortable to sleep in. And yeah, so that's part of what I do. Wool socks help. I did last night. It was very cold. I normally don't like wearing socks at all. Sometimes I will wear them to bed when I'm camping or when it's cold, and last night it was cold enough for wool socks, so that ought to tell you. And then of course I put my Zero sleeping bag over all of my down and wool and all that stuff, and I was nice and toasty warm. Right. Another thing I do clothing wise is I layer pretty well. These are ladies' stretchy pants, and a lot of ladies like to wear these on the outside, and that's their only pair of pants because they're quite warm. However, I use them like long johns, and then I put another pair of pants, whatever kind I'm wearing, over them. Sometimes if I have a tighter pair like this and it's really cold, like when I lived in Wisconsin, I will have a long john set, and then I'd have these tighter pants and then a skirt or another pair of pants over it. Yes, sometimes it's necessary. When you're that cold, you're gonna do anything. So yeah, that's what I do. Underneath, I just put some pants on, and that really helps. And last night I had my fuzzy jammy pants, which are fleece as well, with my long john pants underneath. So I was pretty well layered, plus I had all my blankets. So yeah, that's just a little tidbit of what I do. Just layering is key. Another little trick that I do is I turn the engine on. I let it warm up and then I blast the heater. That also helps. Now a lot of you will say, well, that's a waste of gas. Not really in my case, because, well, it's probably a lot more economical than my little butane stove, because those little cans only last a little while if you're using it for heat. So yeah, I just warm up my engine, and it's really nice because, well, when the transmission gets warmed up too, then I end up having radiant floor heat. So it's pretty cool. And so now, because I've had the engine running for a little while, I could actually walk barefoot on this cold metal floor and do some stretching and exercises. Alright, so I hope you guys got some good ideas about how to stay warm in your van or camping or otherwise. And if I missed anything, let me know. I'd like to hear from you guys to see what you guys do to stay warm on a cold day. And thank you so much for watching, and please, please, please remember to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe and ding the little bell and all that good stuff. And I will see you next time. Time to go back inside and get warm.